a warning?
There ain't nothing to worry about.
I'm worried that you work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries. The world of heterosexual is a sick and boring life.
Here, buddy, relax. The sun's still high. You can try it again. I'll even time you this time, and I got a perfect movement. What's so exciting about racing against the clock anyway? What's it prove?
Well, it's like a runner trying to improve his time. He trains his body to get the most out of it. I work on this baby the same way, trying to get maximum performance.
What's it mean if you don't beat anybody?
But I do. I beat their time.
Is that how you got cutie pie over there? By beating some guy's time? No. You're not the type. You're the all-American boy. A safety-first Clyde.
Are you trying to say something?
I never try anything. I just do it. Like I don't beat clocks. Just people. Want to try me?
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Welcome back.
I am glad to be back. I know we've got a couple episodes in the can here, but this is this season is starting off to be.
We're starting out with a banger.
We watched this movie over a couple of days. I mean, it's a quick watch, but we did have to spread it out because we started it late one night. We were like, all right, we're getting old. We gotta cut this up. But you know what? This movie is so entertaining.
It's so much fun.
I could watch
I can't
it
wait to talk about it.
Every night. Let's do it again for the next 2 nights. Listeners, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay. Darren Stein, welcome back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Last on for Terms of Endearment.
Terms of Enqueerment.
Yeah, Terms of Enqueerment.
Absolutely.
And we decided to just dive right into Russ Meyer.
Yeah.
We're doing our first Russ Meyer movie on the podcast. We have almost done Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. We have a guest lined up for it. It hasn't quite happened yet, but you got to start with Faster Pussycat.
I think so.
So that is the movie that we were talking about today?
Yes, indeed. Darren, this was your suggestion, I think. You kind of brought this to us,
Yep.
and thank you so much for doing that.
I knew that you would be the perfect guest for this movie.
Absolutely.
Any film that's about eyeliner, I'm there.
And, oh my God. These faces on these ladies.
Incredible.
They are stamped, excuse the the drag lingo. Those faces are stamped on these broads. They look
The
so
eyebrow
good.
story, I love.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tura Satana's eyebrows.
No, yeah.
You have to wonder, did Divine get her eyebrows from Tura?
Yeah, that shape.
That shape.
It's
It is
so like
What woman
specific.
on film has done that before Tura? I don't think any.
Right. Yeah. So good. Before we get started, Darren, just real quick, we should congratulate
Jawbreaker 25 this week.
She's so fucking old.
What in the hell is
I mean,
time?
it's like the Jawbreaker child, the Jawbreaker daughter has been able to drink for a number of years, and now she can rent a car.
She could get pregnant. I mean,
She's probably living in like La Habra with like a couple of kids by now.
No,
she's
not
in a
that.
K-hole somewhere.
Yeah.
But congratulations. And I feel
you.
like, I don't know if we would have a movie like Jawbreaker if it wasn't for the anti-heroines in a movie like Faster Pussycat
Absolutely
Kill
not.
Kill 2.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, this movie's amazing. Thank you for not recommending it to us. This has always been in our wheelhouse, but thank you for insisting on talking about it with us today. So, Scott, you've got some stats on this movie before we jump in.
Directed by the one Mr. Russ Meyer, written by Jack Moran and Russ Meyer, released August 6, 1965. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, the American exploitation film. It follows 3 go-go dancers who embark on a spree of kidnapping and murder in the Mojave Desert.
Okay.
The high desert.
Right. Now, okay, when I was young and I was not familiar with Russ Meyer movies, I remember references to it in like other things, right?
Yep.
There's a Seinfeld episode where, Elaine's at the diner and she says, it looks like a Russ Meyer movie in here because all the waitresses have big boobs, things like that. And I was always like, what does that mean? I
used to read a lot of Roger Ebert reviews, and he was a collaborator with Russ Meyer in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, but he used to reference Russ Meyer's in Russ Meyer, excuse me. I'm probably gonna say that multiple times in this episode. Meyer, singular. He used to reference Russ's work in like a number of his reviews.
Sure. I remember asking my stepdad at the time when the Seinfeld episode aired, because I was in high school, like, what does that mean? Who is Russ Meyer? And he's like, he just directed movies with, ladies with big old boobs. I was like, all right, okay, sounds good. Never got around to watching them for the longest time. I think I was in my 20s when I finally sat down and watched Faster Pussycat. And the other movies in his filmography are kind of amazing. Faster Pussycat is part of his Gothic era.
Yeah,
right?
I would say it's the end of it.
The end of it, okay. And those are like the black and white movies.
Yes.
And those were done just kind of in black and white just to save a little bit of money, right?
Well, yeah, processing was cheaper.
Okay.
Have you seen somebody cut scenes together of this movie colorized on YouTube?
haven't seen that.
It's kind of cool.
Wow.
I mean, it works, I think, as a feature better in black and white, but it's cool to see it in Technicolor, though.
It's so graphic in black
Yeah.
and white.
Yes,
Watching
yeah.
it this time, I thought of like Night of the Hunter.
Sure.
Okay.
Which I know is a bizarre correlation.
Yeah.
But that is noir, and it's sort of like German expressionists.
Right.
And I do feel like the women's legs and sort of the oil rigs.
Okay.
A lot of the destruction, the sort of like barrenness of the desert recalls almost avant-garde, like abstract expressionism.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. These desert landscapes,
Incredible.
they're so like California.
Yeah.
They're so specific to this like Western kind of desert, these dry lake beds and all that. It's interesting. Just going back to his filmography a little bit, I always kind of thought, oh, what do they call them? The nudie cuties. I always thought, okay, that's just his whole thing is nudie cutie, right? But
Yep.
I guess when you dig a little bit deeper, it's like, no, he had these eras. He just like a Picasso or something.
I have,
he had these.
I have a list of the Russ subgenres.
Okay.
So the
Yeah,
nudie
tell us about
cuties, documentaries, kind of like when you had to pass an adult movie for a documentary back in the day for like the censors of we're documenting these dancing girls.
And he did some
yep.
Mondo movies, right? Which is kind of where John Waters got the name, like Mondo Trash Show, is
Yeah.
these Mondo documentaries.
And I feel like there's a band named after Mudhoney, right?
Yes, there is. There's like a 90s like grunge band. I remember Mudhoney. Yeah.
So, and then we mentioned Gothic period, which Faster Pussycat Kill Kill is a part of. The dramas are kind of the melodramas, and then the good old fashioned sex comedies.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, this movie it's I guess a small it's just so like compact. Like this cast is so small. It's just these these three girls and like this family of like three men and just a couple of other people scattered in there. But it just it makes such an impact when you watch it. The script is crazy.
Yeah.
The dialogue is so quotable.
And I think that's why it's probably one of the favorites of audiences is because of the script.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, just visually, this cast is so iconic. Of these,
Tura Satana.
Yeah. Tura Satana is.
What like a screen presence.
Didn't he say he found her working like a secretary for a dentist or a doctor?
Jesus. Oh my God.
Because in the opening credits, he's like, it could be your doctor's secretary.
Sure.
But I think read or saw somewhere that
Okay.
discovered Tura
Okay.
as a secretary for a doctor.
Wow.
I think that she had done limited film work prior to this, probably on television.
But apparently, Haji, Tura, and the third,
Lori Williams. Yep.
were kind of badass bitches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Haji also has she looks so contemporary when you watch this movie of that she doesn't look period. Like she looks like you could run into her in Silver Lake right now.
she's terrifying.
Something about her
Beautiful.
makeup contributes to that look.
But then Susan Bernard is the daughter of, Bernard of Hollywood.
Oh, sure.
So she had sort of a Hollywood pedigree.
Okay.
So apparently the girls didn't fuck with Susan Bernard.
Sure, and I know that
Interesting.
I think that Susan Bernard's mother kind of got into it with them as they were filming.
Yeah.
Probably like you're manhandling my daughter who's barefoot in most of these
She's in her bikini.
her bikini.
That scene at the end, she's like rolling on she's getting beat
Yeah,
up.
I saw. Yeah, I was noticing that this time. I was like, "Oh my God, this is rocks and dirt and like, holy cow!" And also, I mean, what I found out was because I was thinking she looks like a child. This is a child, and I'm like just doing some research. Oh, she is a child. She was 16, 15.
Yeah, and
and
then
then when they shot this,
Was she that young? I didn't realize.
I think she was 16.
Well, you know who her son is? Josh Miller from Teen Witch.
Oh, Josh Miller. You mentioned the Josh
Yeah.
Miller.
Well, he's a very good friend of mine.
Gosh,
He's a very dear friend of
We
mine.
love Josh Miller.
We love Josh Miller.
Yes.
And the fact that his mother is Susan Bernard and his dad is Jason Miller, the priest from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
It's kind of iconic.
Oh my
parents.
God, these are wow.
So then is he stepbrothers with
Jason Patrick.
Jason Patrick
Yeah.
then? Okay.
Yeah.
I've never.
Holy cow.
I knew that his dad was from The Exorcist, Jason Miller, but I'd never really made that connection
Isn't that
of who
wild? They
his
have different
stepbrother
moms.
was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently, Jason's. I don't know who the mother is though, but I think Jason Patrick is related to Jackie Gleason somehow or something. I'm not sure.
Okay.
exactly, but-
Well, yeah, that sounds kind of familiar. Strangely, yeah.
And how weird that he and Josh are both in Lost Boys and Near Dark. It's
Yes,
it's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
But what do you do when
Wow.
your mom is in Faster Pussycat Kill Kill? How do
I
you?
mean-
and your dad's in The Exorcist.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, that's a fun.
Isn't that fun?
And then
fact?
his mom,
fact,
and then
I
his
did-
mom
yeah.
appeared in Playboy. I believe that
She
she was
did.
the first Jewish woman to maybe be on the cover of Playboy. Yep.
Interesting.
And that
Makes
happened in
sense.
1966. Yeah,
Naughty
she was,
Susan
She was
Bernard.
Miss December. Yep.
She will not be buried in a Jewish cemetery.
No.
There's no way. Rest in peace. No, she did pass away a few years ago. actually.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, she is great in the. I was going to say she does a lot of screaming through this movie, but they all do. I think Tura's delivery in this movie just he's screaming every line, shouting every. But there's something about her voice and just this kind of gravitas that she has. She's giving me a very. Now I'm blanking on her name. Is it Susan Tyrell?
From the Honeymooner
Yes.
or from the Honeymoon Killers?
Yeah, from Crybaby, and is it Susan
Susan
Tyrell?
Tyrell,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's kind of giving
From
me,
Forbidden Zone.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. She's giving me that kind of energy. Well, maybe I guess Susan Tyrell is giving me Tura Satana energy,
Yeah.
I should say. But
You look at Tura and you just think of everyone that she's influenced.
yes, yeah.
The black bangs, the eyeliner,
Yeah.
the hourglass shape.
I mean, I feel like just Chola culture just kind of formed around
Yes.
both her and Lily Munster.
Yeah, there. I mean, I don't know if either of you got all the way through Pee-wee's Big Holiday.
Yeah, I remember the Faster Pussycat
there's
Kill
the
Kill
three,
section of
the
that.
three
Yeah.
characters that are very much.
There's a Faster Pussycat homage at the end of Death Proof.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's just, and then the poster.
Oh, it's a good
is like
poster.
it's
It's a good poster.
it's iconic. It's just something that like if you grew up in America on Earth, you just like you've seen these images, right? They're just part of like cinema culture.
And Tura smoking the black cigarettes to go with her black outfit. I mean, it's just like
God.
the black gloves. It's so fetish.
The gloves the
you know,
entire
it's just-
time,
it's
yeah.
just- and then the Betty Page haircut.
Right.
Was Betty Page, I guess, pre-Tura?
I think she was the 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
Tura. I mean, it's just such a... But I love what after Tura beats some dude up, her makeup's still perfect.
Oh
I
yeah,
kind
absolutely.
of appreciate that.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I love that her signature move, the like this karate chop, and it's just because of the time frame. I mean, I feel like the 70s was more when karate became this like thing in the United States and like people kind of taking classes and all of that. So at this time, it was still a little bit more exotic and kind of
And
secretive.
I think that Tora probably brought that to the character because
Yeah.
she has a
What is her ethnicity? Yeah.
she has a background in karate. She's half Japanese and Native American, I think.
Okay, so I think there's an otherness to her.
Right.
Yeah.
That is-
absolutely.
Really just incredible.
Yeah.
And exciting. And her voluptuousness.
Yes.
So
I mean, she does have the largest breast in the movie.
this top is so low cut, and these bazooms are like front and center. They're on front the entire movie, and I'm just sitting there going, "This is the '60s. What is the technology in this top and in her foundation garments that is allowing this chest to stay?" It's a feat of engineering, and I applaud
buoyancy,
it. Yeah, because they are the biggest boobs in the movie. I think it was Lori Williams who plays Billy. She said that she was kind of like, or that Russ Meyer said that she didn't have a big enough bust, and so she was just like, "I'll pad it. I'll do whatever you want. Whatever we got to make it look bigger, let's do it." And
but
she
she's-
came back, and he was like, "Okay,
She's got
this works."
She's got that beautiful hourglass figure.
Yeah.
When she's in
That
that,
figure.
bikini. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's one of the first shots of the movie is her on the go-go pole, right?
Which is so
Is that
like,
her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It really Planet Terror is
Yep.
is a major homage to that.
Yeah.
Just those the gyrating bodies. I mean, there's sort of like immediately a danger to an eroticism, but also a violence.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like these people are not to be fucked with, and they're not even, and they're not even in being violent yet. They're just they're just dancing.
Yeah.
But in the dance, it is a primitive. It's almost kind of like a tribal quality.
Absolutely. And just like these like back bends that they're doing, and just like all these feats of physicality that you're just like, what is that? And again, in the 60s, I feel like imagery like this, where nowadays you kind of YouTube and the internet and everything, you kind of just see things. You see other cultures and dance forms and martial arts and all these things we just have this reference for. But I feel like the general population in the United States in the 60s would look at something like that. And these go-go dancers doing these crazy back bends and this exotic woman karate chopping someone, in their solar plexus and him falling down going, okay, that hit could have knocked that guy down because this woman, I don't know where she comes from or what kind of training she's had, but like I trust these moves. Every now and then when she would fight, she had her karate chop, but every now and then she would put her hand into this like claw. This claw shape, and it'll be like, "Ooh, the claw! Like that one's gonna hurt."
Here's a question:
her fighting style.
Do you guys think that Tura did her own makeup, or do you think that was sort of developed by the film by Russ Meyer, or how do you think the look
That's
came
interesting
across?
Because I feel like later on she kind of adopted it as like a signature look for herself. Even I think she didn't pass until like 2010s or maybe the teens, and all the way up through that in convention you just find pictures of her online, and she still had this look.
Peaches had her at Midnight Mass.
We saw a picture of Peaches, Elvira, and Tura.
Yeah,
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, and together, and you just kind of get this like 3 generations. Yep.
Yeah.
of dark ladies.
I don't know. I don't know of much about her prior to this movie. If she brought the look. I mean, I'm assuming that when you're out in the desert where they shot this, out where like Lancaster is, like out there. I mean,
I think it's further
they
away.
probably had to do their own hair and makeup, wardrobe, just because they were way out there.
Yeah, it's my understanding. I think I heard this from Josh that the 3 of them, Haji, Tura, and Lori, were kind of rough girls. Like they partied. I don't know if they did burlesque or they were strippers, but they came from a much rougher world than Susan Bernard.
Okay.
So I think they might have done their own makeup, and and Russ was sort of like casting,
Yeah.
4 types.
Yeah. And it seems like this is a kind of movie that was probably a rough and dirty kind of shoot. So if they're out there in the desert, then it's just like, do your hair, do your makeup. There were, how many duplicates of these costumes did they have? Maybe not that many, because they are jumping in lakes, fighting in the sand, doing all this crazy
rolling around in the
dirt, throwing sand in each other's hair, like in these fights. And I'm just like, oh man, these costumes, like what is going on? This is wild.
The camera angles. I read somewhere that the camera never moves in this. They're all still shots.
We noticed that, and it's not something that we were.
Well, no, we didn't notice it. We saw it in
but it creates
talk about it.
It creates a formal a formal aesthetic that really demands your attention.
Sure.
And so everything in the frame takes on a bigger quality, right? So like even the shot of when Tura's driving, the shot from like under the steering wheel, when she's sort of laughing maniacally. There's something disturbing about it. It's got a close up of that face.
Yeah. Or the shots of them driving from outside of the car looking in that are clearly just like, somebody shaking the car from the outside. But it doesn't matter. These are just really great shots. And it just kind of shows you something like, we love John Waters in this house, obviously. But you go back and you watch the earlier things and, Divine's entrance in Pink Flamingos. She walks in and it's her back. And then she sits down and talks to Edith Massey for an entire scene. The camera doesn't move, but it's the back of her head the whole time. You're like, this is Divine's intro in Pink Flamingos. And it's the back of her head for like a full minute. And it just shows you that like Russ Meyer, this man is a director. Like he knows what he's doing. And this movie it's well made.
It's well made. It's well designed.
Yeah.
And we had never seen women being, with such agency, being ultra violent, having their sexual desires met, being, lusting life, lusting violence, being dangerous. I mean, Tura Satana is referred to as a monster. I mean, she becomes sort of the antagonist by the end.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of scared of Tura.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting the dynamic that she has with the girls, like with this gang that she has, because, she does boss them around and she does tell them to like commit like crimes and like these atrocities. And they just they don't always do it. I feel like Haji is kind of the one that has the most like, I don't know, conscience or voice of reason of the three of them. She's just like, what is going on here? What are we doing? Like, why are we doing
And Lori Williams is just kind of going along with it.
She seems like
She has a very interesting dynamic with the rest of the group.
She's in it just for like the fun and the booze and just like
She's the one who goes off and gets laid.
yes,
right?
yeah, and she's just drinking bottles of booze and just like I think she's the one that just is there because this crowd is gonna like get me what I want. But
Yes,
she's not in it
exactly.
for like violence or anything.
No. But the Haji character and her are sort of lovers.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one who's
I like that.
who's in the lake bathing in the beginning.
Yeah.
But they're bisexual.
Sure. Yeah.
So I love just like the lawlessness of their sexuality.
But so that's kind of the first instance where Varla, Tura Satana, she's like, go get her. And she's like, I gotta get wet because Lady Godiva wants to go for a swim. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Some of these lines, I have some of the lines written in my notes of
But the way that Varla's just like, go get her.
Yeah.
some of these lines, they make the mafia look like a couple of brownies.
Yeah.
I don't beat clocks, just people want to
Yeah.
try me.
Yep.
In that delivery.
Before she says I don't beat clocks, she says something else. I forget what it is. Something like, "Oh, I don't try, I just do."
Yeah.
It's funny. I must have seen this film as a kid because
Yeah.
I feel like so much of Jawbreaker is in it. It's like
Sure.
it's so arch. But John Waters was influenced by this, and I was influenced by him. So it's like I think it's just a cult film sort of trajectory.
Trickle down
Yeah,
kind of thing. That whole scene at the beginning where we meet the couple that are out drag racing on the dry lake bed. What in the hell? Did people do this?
What are they doing
Is this
out
a
there?
thing?
What are they doing out there?
Time trials?
I mean, they're just racing cars, and they want to see how fast their car is going to go.
He wants to
out
be
in
able
the
to
desert.
open up his car,
Yeah.
and this dry lake bed is like
And what is Susan Bernard doing in a bathing suit in the middle of the desert? It's great.
she's
Sunbathing, I guess.
She just wants to hang out with the boyfriend, and she's like, I brought a picnic.
She has her.
and I'm
She has
just,
her little
you know,
chair set up.
yeah.
She's ready for a good time.
I mean, she's just ready for some some fun. She's gonna time him. And then we're gonna have a picnic, and then we're.
I will say that
Get him in
Russ
trouble.
Meyer, for being female centric with this movie, he has cast some very attractive men in this movie.
Oh yeah.
So I really appreciate that he has an appreciation for the male form, not just the female form.
Absolutely. I mean,
Dennis Bush.
which one is he? Is he the vegetable?
He's the vegetable.
I mean,
yeah.
the vegetable.
The vegetable is giving Rocky from Rocky Horror, right?
Absolutely.
And Dennis Bush has that body. He has that 60s bodybuilder form too. Of
I don't know. I think it's a little contemporary because sometimes 60s bodybuilders kind of look like Fred Mertz. And he's giving this one is he's giving like I feel like more contemporary, like just thick guy.
Small waist and big ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a whole lot of man.
Yes.
A whole lot of man.
Yeah, and we love it.
And that scene when he's fighting off the car at the end, when she's trying to pin him against the wall.
I love that scene.
What a great.
Oh.
That was so violent. Like it's like the brutality of this movie. It just goes for it.
Yeah.
Imagine watching this in what year did this come out?
65.
65. Yep.
People must have been losing it.
Release
That's
date
what
of
I'm saying. People
release
are
date of August, but I mean
losing
with
their
just kind of how
minds.
these movies circulated, I mean
Yeah.
it would have been kind of
when
platformed out to various
She's like,
cities. Yeah.
She's pressing on that accelerator.
She has got her the pedal to the metal,
Yes.
and he stops the car, and the look on her face,
Yeah.
she's just like, oh,
You're not dead yet?
shit.
Oh shit! Yeah, and okay, you're suspending your disbelief. Can this man stop this Porsche? And you're just like,
I mean,
does it matter?
I
It
believe
doesn't
he
matter.
can.
It's happening right now.
Yep.
I believe he can,
believe it.
and
Yeah.
it still pretty much kills him.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But I love that it's a slow, torturous process.
Yeah.
This is a sequence.
Yes. No, it's
You watch it,
and it's
you
like digging the
feel it.
car into the dirt. Oh my god,
The editing's so great.
Yeah, yeah.
And how about when not to jump around, but like
No.
when Tura, she drugs, the girl that Susan Bernard.
Yeah.
I love this women on women,
Linda, yeah.
drugging. She's like, I gave her a couple of pills. She'll be fine. She's good for the 2 hours. It's very it's very insidious.
And I love the way that she just comes up with these stories on the spot. Like when they do meet the old man, he's just like,
she had this.
Why do you have this girl drugged in your car? And she's just like on the spot. She's just like, oh, and she got in trouble, and she comes from her family's in society, and the story is perfect. And it's like, it's more than convenience of the script and plot armor. It's like, no, this woman is a sociopath and can make up these lies like this and tell it straight. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And as soon as she hears about this old man living out in the desert from the gas station clerk, what does she say to the gas station clerk? Oh, God. That, you won't find them down there, Columbus. I love that line. But when she finds out about the old man living with his sons in the desert and the money, you can kind of see she has this fully formed plan in her brain as soon as she hears it. Too.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so before we go any further, I'll just give a brief kind of TV guide synopsis of this movie, if possible. 3 go-go dancers, I'm assuming from the greater Los Angeles area. It starts off with them on the pole, and they decide to take off in their 3 individual cars, and they all look like Porsches, 60s sports cars, are really cool, and they're just out drag racing in the desert.
As one does.
As you do, with your friends when you're done with a shift. They come across a couple who are doing these time trials, and the main girl, Varla, and her 2 pals are Rosie and Billy. Rosie's played by Haji, and Billy's played by Lori Williams. They come across this couple doing the time trials, and Varla's a little too salty for her own good. And there's a scuffle, and she straight up kills the boyfriend, right? The girlfriend becomes hysterical, so they throw her in the car and take off. They find a little town. There's a gas station there. Talk to a gas station attendant. And how does it come across that they talk about? Oh, they see the truck. They see the old man and the vegetable. Mm-hmm. And he tells them, "Oh, this guy has a lot of money, and it's buried somewhere on his farm." And immediately, Varla's like, "Okay, we're gonna go get this money." So they go out. They're still in the middle of the desert. This little town is nothing. It's not even a town. It's literally a gas station and nothing else. So they go to it's kind of a farm. It's just like a homestead out in the middle of nowhere. And there's an old man. He's in a wheelchair. His youngest son, who is only referred to as the vegetable because he has some sort of developmental, issues. And the old man is in a wheelchair. He had an accident with a train, and he had a settlement. And this is the money that they're trying to find. And then we find out that there is an older son, and the older son goes by Kirk. Okay. Yep. And hijinks ensue. There's a lot more stuff going on at the house. They are trying to find this money. Varla and Kirk go off. Billy and the vegetable go off. Linda tries running away several times, screaming off into the desert. Most of the time barefoot and in a bikini. And the old man is a creep. We don't see him outwardly kind of assaulting Linda, but it's very heavily implied that he does. He's got a piece of her clothing that he ripped off of her as she runs away. We see that later on. And all the while, we're thinking that the money is hidden somewhere in the house, around the house. This is what Varla's thinking. And we're just going to go around and we're going to look for it. And we're going to find it. And if we don't, we're just going to get rid of everybody. It's only 3 more people. It's only a cripple, his mute son and the other one. So that's kind of the overarching theme of this story. I think that there's some really great performances in this movie for it being kind of an exploitation movie or kind of a low budget or a trash cinema or whatever. It's like trash cinema meets gothic sort of intrigue and drama. Mm-hmm. The vegetable son is also a hunky, beautiful blonde. Oh my God.
Who apparently probably what killed his mother when she was giving birth to him.
I
Sure,
guess
I
that's
think so.
That's kind of
Yep.
implied, I think.
And,
Yeah.
and so the father hated him ever since that because he killed his wife.
Right.
And so they have some weird dynamic. The son who comes back, I'm not even sure. He's the most sane of the three of them.
Right.
He's bringing dinner, right?
Right.
And then the whole, second half of the film is centered around this, like, you're going to have dinner with us, and we're going to make you fried chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it was like, okay, is that a plot point? Okay, that's fine. They're all going to...
They keep referring to this lunch. We're gonna have lunch. We're getting lunch is happening, and then they finally have the lunch, and it's weird.
The longest day ever.
Yeah. And then
They do a lot during the course of this day.
And that's something else that reminded me of Rocky Horror, because there's that big dinner scene in Rocky Horror that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Remember when then he's got Eddie, then he reveals the body of Eddie under the thing.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay, well, if they can do that in Faster Pussycat, that connotes plot.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that they're like, oh, we just need some water, and because the old man at first is very wary of them. He's just like, what are you doing here, and all that. And Varla's just like, Varla plays it very cool at first. She's like, we just need some water.
She
We're gonna figure out
comes
what's
up with the
going
whole
on.
story about Linda.
But he's like, okay, you can use my water, and then he says something about like charging them or something like that.
Yeah,
or like he's
for
got
the- for the water,
He's
for the
got
water.
he's got like
Yeah.
a timer on it or something, or a meter.
And the water's important because the girls can strip down and
Yes.
In
shower.
true
Yes.
Russ Meyer fashion, that you can show Lori Williams like
But you know
taking
what?
a bath.
But you know what
Yep.
though?
Yeah.
There is. It's pretty modest.
Tame, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's
you
like
don't see any of Tura.
there's
I
a lot
noticed.
of cleavage. Tura's cleavage is front and center the whole time, but you don't see any nudity. There's no nip. There's
And another great dialogue is like, what about the lunch? Is it formal or can we stay comfortable?
yeah.
And Tura's like, he wants company, our kind of company. And so I guess that means they're just wearing what they're wearing.
Yeah.
Get those tits out, girls.
Did you notice? So Pete pointed this out to me. The old man, he's in Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, wild.
He's one of the. He's the one when Nick is walking down the street and he says, "Did they catch him yet? That cripple."
That's great.
And he does the thing
Well,
with
I think
his
there's a lot
hands,
of Russ
and he's
Meyers.
sitting in the
Yeah,
driveway,
in
and I was like,
Tim
"Oh
Burton's
yeah,
work.
okay."
Of
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tim Burton does that on purpose. He casts people that Vincent Price, things like that.
Exactly. How about the blonde when the Lori character, Billy, right? When she has the muscle man show him working out.
Oh my
and she's like, you need a manager, I'll be your manager. I'll take 10%.
Yeah.
Like she's always, like you said, she always has like a scam going.
Yeah.
Or an angle.
Yeah, I love that she's just like, I mean, you got to get that big somehow. Like, what do you do to like get this body? You got to do something. You got to work out.
Yep.
And the old man's just like, yeah, he works out. Show her. And yeah, he just has like a weight bench, and he's just like pumping iron. And yeah, she's just like, all right, let's do this. Let's go back to LA. Like, she's gonna be his manager, but for what? She's a fitness model.
Fitness model,
Cheesecake.
Yeah,
Cheesecake photography.
you can get him in some beefcake magazines.
She knows some guys.
Oh, yeah.
she knows some photographers. She can make this work. Okay. Yeah, I like that. But it's so interesting because they just kind of find these excuses to break everybody up, right?
Yeah.
So that everybody's off in these smaller groups, and people are breaking off and running away, and
Yeah,
like
we have Tura, the blonde gets drunk, right? She passes out.
yeah.
Tura hooks up with the brother
Yes.
that comes in later.
Yes.
Who seems to be the most sane of the three of them.
Right. Kirk.
But he's thinner than her, so it's sort of fun to watch her sort of literally dominate him.
It's interesting. He is definitely more slight of a
Yeah.
man than she is.
yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of a sexy scene.
Yeah.
And then he has this line of dialogue which is kind of crazy. He says, "You're a beautiful animal, and I'm weak, and I want you." And I think she says, "What's weak about wanting? Everyone wants." Which is such a great.
Yeah.
It's
Oh my
really about. It's
God.
kind of satanic. It's just really about
Yeah.
like living your life.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
Or sort of like putting your pleasures at the.
Yeah.
or just kind of this.
hedonism, yeah.
I mean, don't they call
Hedonism, yeah.
it like the id?
Yeah, the id,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which is also very Rocky Horror.
Yep.
There's no crime in giving yourself over to pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when Tura's hooking up
Jeez.
with a skinny brother, Haji is watching jealously.
There you go.
Haji looks a little pressed.
Yes. Yes, she is. She is very much just like, what the fuck? Yeah, okay. What does the old man say about women? Like, we're letting them vote. We're letting him vote, letting him drive.
Let me look up.
He's just like, we're letting him vote, we're letting him drive. We got a Democrat president.
Women, they let them vote, smoke, drive, and even put them in pants. And what happens? A Democrat for president.
Yeah, isn't it cool
That's a
how
great
Russ Meyer
line.
films even have political context?
I mean,
Sure.
It's so much more than just what you think it is on the surface. And I think Ebert was a big critic who sort of like validated him as a filmmaker with his early reviews.
Right.
I read some really great quotes on, because Ebert said that he did not write about his movies as they were friends, just kind of a conflict of interest. And then they re-released the movie in the mid-90s. And what he wrote about him, what is it about Meyer that spurs critics to this hyperbole? I think it's an intensely personal reaction to the visceral power of Meyer's unusual image. Take away all the jokes, the elaborate camera angles, the violence, the action, and the sex, and what remains is the quintessential Russ Meyer image, a towering woman with enormous breasts who dominates all of the men around her, demands sexual satisfaction, and casts off men in the same way that in mainstream sexual fantasies men cast aside women. So interesting.
It is, yeah.
And so he was a proponent of this movie when it originally was released, because
Yeah.
I know it got a lot of negative press.
Right, because the film before this was Motor Psycho, right?
Right.
Which was essentially the same story, but with men, not
Right.
women. And so which leads me to believe he was sort of making this film as a sort of like a more sort of evolved piece, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of works better with women at the center of it.
Yeah.
With women at the center of
Yeah,
it.
it almost seems like he did, like the timing was on purpose. Like I will be able to get Motorcycle made because it's a more standard of a kind of genre piece, right? And people kind of get that plot. Okay, now that's done. And then what if I just did it kind of a gender swap version of that? And they're like, okay, what a kooky idea. It's interesting that he went in that direction, but there's just something about putting these women like in front and center in these roles, and yeah, you just every time they just spout off one of these one-liners when like the gas station attendant's like looking for, he's never seen a Porsche in this little, podunk town. He's never seen this like
He's
Porsche
like, what kind of
come in,
car is
this
that?
Italian
Let
car.
alone a woman like her.
And like
Yeah.
he's looking for the gas, like the gas cap. She's like, right, Fender, Einstein.
And let's not even ask like
Died.
how like go-go girls can afford Porsches. But that,
Right,
it's a fantasy.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not about
just,
that.
It's this fun cartoonish world that
Yeah.
makes it so much fun. It's like
Yeah.
it's fantasy filmmaking.
It is really.
Yeah,
Scott was like, this is so Fast and the Furious that they each have their
they
own
each
car.
have their own car.
just following each other. I do also love that they're on these dirt roads out in the middle of the desert, salt flats, dry lake beds, and there's like tire screeching noises in the back. I'm like, I don't know that tires.
And there's wall-to-wall score. The music I found
Beautiful score in this movie. Yeah,
I found that the score really elevated the entire film.
Sure. Yeah.
And it kept the film like moving.
Yeah.
And it was like a beautiful score. Like you said, it was like a full orchestra.
Yeah.
This was not like some rinky-dink score. This was like
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I kind of feel like this movie in particular, and like most of Russ Meyer and the earlier movies, have this reputation for being these like shoestring budget, kind of low budget throwaway movies. But like you watch it, like this is a movie.
Yeah.
This is like a well produced.
And how interesting in the very, very beginning when you see the sound mag.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you have the voiceover that's like, "Welcome to violence."
Yeah.
And then it goes into like, she could be your,
Yeah.
doctor's secretary, a stripper, and it establishes this world where women are dominant.
Right.
Violence is celebrated.
Yeah.
And sexuality. And it's almost like a mission statement. That's what I'm talking
sure,
about.
sure,
yeah.
And he does it over just the mag and the sound, which is very audacious.
It really is, especially for the time. I feel
Yes.
like I'm watching it going, what the hell were people thinking?
Have you guys seen Zone of Interest?
Yes.
Okay.
And Zone of Interest starts like that
Similarly,
with is it like green or red? I think it's like green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you're telling the audience is, this is going to be a different experience.
And you
yeah.
see that for like a full minute.
Yeah, because you're telling
Yeah.
the audience, get into this meditative state now. This is not
Yeah.
going to be like other movies. Something's going to be different, wrong,
Right.
subversive. And so Russ Meyer did that in the 60s.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
film like this.
Right.
It is, because guess what? These images hadn't even been seen like this.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, when I was watching it, I thought of Psycho. What year did Psycho come out?
1960.
60.
Yep.
And this was 60.
65.
So 5 years later, yeah. it has the power and the formality of Psycho.
Right.
I think for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And even the old man in the wheelchair reminded me of this Norman Bates' mother.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that could be thought of as a gothic horror.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And
yes.
it's country fried horror too, because they're
they're
in this motel in the house and all that.
Yeah, the thing about the Bates Motel and the Psycho House is that the way it's framed in the movie, there's no structures around it. It is in the middle of the desert.
It is
Just kind of the high desert of California.
It's like Night of the Hunter. It's like this German expressionist netherworld.
Yeah.
So I thought it was an extremely audacious opening.
I love that. Gosh, that's great. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's the thing when I feel like people need to kind of give movies like this a chance if they've not really like gone out and looked for it. But unfortunately, this movie, fortunately it is on YouTube.
And it's a high def quality on YouTube. It's beautiful.
And it's a great print that's on there. So you can watch it that way.
A lot of the availability of Russ Meyer movies
Very hard
are
to find.
kind of hard to find.
A friend of mine is friends with Vixen. What's the actress's name again who plays Vixen?
In this?
No, his film Vixen. I forget, but she's one of his. She's been in several of his films.
Okay.
Anyway, he was saying that. Oh well, I told him I was doing this podcast. He's like, well, his films aren't available. Erica Gavin.
Erica Gavin.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't find his films anywhere, and I was like, oh fuck.
You can find some.
And that's why I was so happy to find Faster Pussycat on YouTube, but not just some shitty VHS copy.
Right.
Definitely at least a 2K.
Super Vixens on Plex. I was watching that right before you came over.
Yeah. And if you're in the greater Los Angeles area, you can head over to Videotheque in Highland Park, and they've got a full Russ Meyer DVD selection for rent.
And the New Bev last year showed Faster Pussycat.
We saw it.
We saw it.
Okay.
We saw it.
What was it with? Yeah.
Switchblade Sisters.
Switchblade Sisters.
Yep.
That's right.
Have you ever seen Switchblade Sisters?
I'm not sure I have.
Ton of fun.
It's fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
they were a fun double feature.
Switchblade Sisters is from the 70s, and it's shot mostly in Los Angeles. And I'm just sitting there going, oh man, that was when LA was fugly, man. It was dirty and gross. I mean, it's pretty dirty and gross now, but but more so then. That's a fun one. We definitely recommend.
I mean, I'm such a huge sucker for just like bad girls in movies. I love that.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be women in prison or anything like that, but girl gangs, all this kind of stuff. It's fascinating just because
women
I feel
that
like
take shit from no one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're just so inundated with like, these male dominated movies. I feel like just this, it's so interesting. Every now and then I step out of my male privilege and I think, what as a woman do I have to look forward to go see like the fucking Avengers? You know what I mean? Like, or even something like Fast and Furious. It's like, okay, there's 3 girls in this. Do they talk to each other ever? Maybe, but it's so interesting that just these male dominated movies and just to see something, even bad girls, even these girls that are just like up to no good, at least it's fun. At least Tura and Haji, they're just having, it seems like they're having a great time, even though it's like some scary shit's going down.
Yeah.
But we as an audience are just like, fuck yes, this is great.
I love one of the opening lines when she says to the 2 girls, when Tura says, you want to prove something, chickies? Let's see who the real chicken is. And then, they play chicken with the cars, right? So I love how she's like sort of rallying them up, and it's always this sort of violent, sort of like competitive world going on, right?
And it's so interesting that this character just has this point of view about her life and other people's lives, or she's playing chicken in her car with these 2 other women. Later on, she fully runs over 2 people. She hits the guy in the wheelchair. She hits the vegetable. That shot where I know it's sped up for impact, but when she hits him and his body goes flying, that shit is wild.
Yeah.
She gets run over by the truck at the end of the movie, but she's just like, This is it. This is life. This is,
it makes
it's life or death right now.
Makes me kind of wonder, and I'm glad that we don't get a backstory for this character because you don't need it, but it's kind of fun to think, what is her backstory of kind of, you're thinking of what is her life off the page of this movie?
I would love to know.
Yeah. Is like, is it full time at the go-go bar? Is this like burlesque situation?
I think she's like robbing banks.
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably a teenage runaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a really bad home life.
She's fully robbing banks. She's doing things like that. And then, when she's got time, she goes back to the bar.
She's at the beauty salon.
Yeah.
I mean, that hair needs to get dyed and cut, you know.
Absolutely.
She's cinched for her life. She's doing the burlesque. She's stripping. She's just indulging in her pleasure wherever she can get it.
She's like getting her car worked on. Maybe she's working on the car herself.
I thought it was an interesting scene though, when in the beginning with the innocent couple when she's beating up the guy, right? Because they have a whole skirmish. They're rolling around in the dirt.
Yes.
And at one point he's straddling Tura, and it feels very sexual.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh boy, is he gonna get the upper hand? But no, this is called Faster Pussycat Kill. So she gets up and karate chops him, and But before that happens, there is a mix of sexuality in the violence with the women. So it's interesting how the lens, which is a male lens, obviously, it's Russ Meyer. Provides pleasure to men, while also letting the women kill them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's something where it's like, okay, now I remember her moves because she does, get the better of this guy, and then when she gets on top of him, and she's able to grab his arms from behind and all that. Then later on, when she does have the fight with the younger brother, they're kind of doing the same thing, rolling around. He gets on top of her, she gets on top of him, and I'm just like, don't let her get on top. That's her kill move. But I feel like, at the end of the day, are these movies made for like straight men to like ogle these women and just?
Well, they were originally,
right?
Yeah,
right.
I don't think women were going to these movies back in the day necessarily.
No. So these were exploitation movies? Were they kind of shown in those like grindhouse exploitation theaters? Right?
Exploitation movie theaters.
Yeah.
You
These were
toured
not
around.
Considered.
Yep.
This was not considered like proper cinema. Like this is rated X, I think, or NC. There was no NC,
or just no rating.
No rating.
Yeah. There was no NC-17.
No,
I think
this
was
was
either X or just nothing.
Yeah.
It
was funny today. I had lunch with Alan Arkush, who wrote and directed Rock and Roll High School.
Okay.
Yeah. And
we love Rock and Roll High School.
And I was having a full fangirl moment with him because I love the Ramones, I love Rick Randall, I love Mary Warnock, Paul Motel. A movie like completely like changed my life. And he goes, well, the audience for that film was really women.
Okay.
Because of PJ Souls.
Sure, yeah.
He said it was not the Ramones that sold that
Just
movie.
kind of the wild success of something like Halloween and Carrie.
Not even that. It's because PJ made that character likable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He gave her
You want to be the PJ Souls character in that movie.
Like she brought an inner life to that character that was not on the page.
Right.
That it wasn't about the Ramones. And I thought that was so interesting.
Just kind of the character that women could latch onto.
Yeah, because and in the movie she is supposed to find Joey Ramone attractive.
Joey, yes, the whole time you're like, which is Joey, that's the one.
But that's the band they got. The Ramones got the film made.
Right?
They had to get a big band in there.
Yeah.
But it was surprising to me that women were the primary audience and then at revival houses to that movie.
Right.
And I wonder what. And I think now women probably love Faster Pussycat Kill. I mean, I would imagine. I mean, do you remember when you went to the New Bev? I'm sure the audience was split between men and women.
I think it was very split.
It was pretty split. Yeah.
I mean, so I find this kind of maybe apocryphal, but you do like IMDb trivia and or like the Wikipedia page, and there'll be like references or like references in media, and in a lot of different places, they're noting the Spice Girls Say You'll Be There video.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
I mean, I can
it's
see
in
it.
the desert, but other than that.
I mean, maybe the references weren't quite all there as they were filming the video.
They're in the desert,
and I kind of buy it, though.
They're in the desert, and they're all wearing black.
Yeah.
And they all have like big bouffant hair.
Yep.
So, okay.
Rocky Horror for sure.
Yes.
I mean,
absolutely.
Brad and Janet, the innocent couple.
Yeah.
Tura is very Frankenfurter. Dr. Scott in the wheelchair. The whole big dinner.
Yeah.
The sex and violence, the hedonism. That movie is all over. I mean, Faster Pussycat's all over Rocky Horror.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the vegetable character. Yeah, that's so interesting. But yeah, it probably wasn't the Spice Girls. I don't know that like Jerry's like, babes, I want to do this video, babes. Let's do Faster Pussycat, babes. It was probably the director just like, I got this idea. But, it's interesting that they, to put these women into this, into the situation of this particular movie. But yeah, I think definitely now in modern audiences, going to the New Bev, it's difficult because half of the audience are always going to be Letterboxd bros. So they're like, all right, those guys are over.
Right.
We got the Letterboxd bros.
But I bet you there's Letterboxd, sisters too now.
There are, yeah, they're Letterboxd girlies.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
I follow quite a few.
Yeah, Scott's a Letterboxd girly on his off time. But it's the life that this movie has taken on after its intended audience or its intended kind of place in cinema, and it is very interesting to kind of. I remember learning about kind of exploitation movies and the fact that there were different movie theaters that played different types of movies.
I think that we got a lot of that from John Waters' commentaries.
From Cecil B. Demented, yeah.
Yep.
I feel, growing up as when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, it was multiplex. We had multiplexes. This was the single screen movie theaters were out or on their way out. And so for me, and I'm 46, so for me to be like, I don't remember that. That's like, that was a while ago. So
I think it's important to keep talking about these.
Yeah.
movies. That's the thing.
I always
For
think
sure.
it's so interesting. I forgot what I think when we were doing Switchblade Sisters of what's that production company? It's American International.
Yeah.
It's just kind of certain genres of these cult movies that played really well in certain areas of the country.
Yeah.
I also find stuff like that to be fascinating.
Yeah. Like his movie. I was reading somewhere that like Pussycat or one of his films played like for 5 months in Chicago on one screen.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
made like $7 million.
yeah, that shit is wild. Selling it to market.
It's wild to think that before there was no video, there was no
Yeah.
cable.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
movies. Period.
And kind of just how this movie ended up getting made, that Motorcycle did so well that they were like, well, we can do this again and make even more money and put women in it.
Yeah, and I love how Russ Meyer really credits the writer. Is it Jack Moran, the guy who wrote this? He really does give this guy credit, and he did write more than this movie for Russ. He wrote a couple of them, and they are regarded as some of Russ's best films because the writing is. Listen, the dialogue is spectacular. It really is.
Yeah, that's such a standout of this movie.
Yeah, it's like I was watching Super Vixen.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any of Super
Parts
Vixen?
of it, yeah.
Like with Charles Napier, who would go on to work with like Jonathan Demme. And my attention was kind of wandering for it. That it doesn't have
your attention does not wander in Faster
It
Pussycat.
doesn't have the sharpness
all.
that the script has. Yeah.
And I feel like with Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, okay, we all know it's brilliant, it's classic. I would say Beyond and Faster Pussycat are on the same level. I mean, if one of them is a true piece, I would say Pussycat is like the piece of art.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Beyond is right there with it. But I feel like Ebert is aping the Pussycat dialogue.
Sure. Okay.
It does not have the same impact. Like there's a line where when Z-Man's like, "This is my party." This is my party.
It's my party. And it's freaking me out.
That's freaking me out. And I was reading that the actor was like, "I'm not saying this line. This is stupid.
What does it mean?
What does it
Yeah.
mean? I say it."
Yeah.
And Russ is just like, "You're gonna say it. It's in the script. You're gonna say it." And he says it. He sells it. He's like, "You're gonna sell it because you're an actor." And he does sell it, and it's great.
Yeah.
And now I know it's an iconic line, but
Yeah.
it is ridiculous.
I first heard that
This
line
is
in
my
Austin
party and it's-
Powers.
Sure.
And I was like,
I first
what
heard it
does
in Austin
that
Powers
mean?
too.
And I just
And they're even playing Strawberry Alarm Clock.
yeah.
During that
it's my
scene.
it's
Yeah.
my party and it's freaking me out.
It's
What?
kind of fabulous, but I do feel like it is Roger Ebert
Yeah.
aping
Yeah.
the Faster Pussycat dialogue.
And so fun that Russ Meyer
yeah.
could watch something like The Valley of the Dolls and just be like, we could do this movie and just put my aesthetic on it.
It's such a dream of a movie. The fact that 20th Century Fox made Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
And it's like, you can't even compare that to anything being made now, too.
It's so good. It's so good.
Great.
The music. I was listening to the soundtrack on the way here in my car.
Oh, nice.
It's on Spotify.
Oh, I love that.
And the Pussycat soundtrack's on Spotify too, by the way.
Ooh. Yeah, that intro song was, or not the intro song, the song at the end over the, are there even closing credits? Yeah, there's closing credits. That song's amazing. I just looked it up and I was like, it's on iTunes.
But I teach screenwriting at AFI, and I was talking to my workshop about this today. And I
About
was like,
this movie?
yeah, I was like, oh, I'm doing a podcast later. I'm talking about a film called Faster Pussycat Kill Kill by Russ Meyer, who's the father of exploitation cinema. And they're like, Faster Pussycat Kill Kill? Did you just say, wait, faster? They're trying to put these 4 words together.
Yes.
Sure. And I was like, this is why the youth of today needs to remember.
Right.
I mean, because the title alone is such a it's still to this day a provocation.
Well, that's the other
know?
thing too, is that this title, what the hell does that mean?
You don't know what it means, but it's so much fun to say though. It
doesn't matter.
Pussycat Kill Kill.
Kill.
Okay, so
It
Russ
means,
Meyer-
guess what? You're fucked.
Yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
it means.
So Russ Meyer said it's got everything that this movie has. It's got speed, it's got sex, and it's got violence.
And the beginning of this movie, after he does that formal thing, "Welcome to the Violence" speech, right,
Yeah.
over the mag, you see the gyrating women's bodies from below, and they look like giants. They're terrifying and sexy and crazy. But then you hear men going like, "Do it, do
Yeah.
it!" No, the men are like, "Go, go!"
Yeah.
And it's really unsettling and
It is.
disturbing.
It is.
Yeah.
Because the men are saying, "What? Work your pussies?"
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Pop
basically,
that
go
pussy.
pop this pussy.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, what more can they do? They're gyrating at full speed.
And they're angrily saying these things.
They're angrily
like,
and then guess what? The women get in their fucking Porsches and do go
Yeah.
beyond that.
Yes. Yeah. I love how kind of period these women's bodies are. You know?
Sure.
Because like
Especially with like Tura's like waist.
well, you go to strip clubs now, and it's like it's a little different. They're not exactly looking like these 3, and the way they look when they're dancing at the beginning in these costumes with the they're wearing like
Lori
these
Williams
hose
in that bikini.
that they're
Yeah.
like bedazzled like stoned, stone stockings like with bikinis and all of that, and just the way that their bodies look when they're making these movements, it's so specific to the period. And I mean, a lot of that has to do with what they're wearing, the underwear and foundation garments and all that don't look the same or do the same thing anymore. But yeah, when you do see them finally in their costumes, I feel like you were saying, Haji is the most contemporary looking.
Yeah.
Just because I think she's the least like maybe voluptuous of the 3.
Do we know Haji's ethnicity?
That was something that
She
I was
almost looked
looking
Italian to me.
up. Yeah, and she's kind of doing an Italian accent, right?
Haji is from Quebec.
Oh.
So she's French Canadian.
How about
Oh, she's
that?
French. I just feel like Haji jumped out of like a Fellini film.
But she's kind of doing like an Italian accent in a lot of these movies.
And was it Super Vixen that you were watching?
Yeah.
So
Super Vixen.
she's in Super Vixen. She plays a bartender, and she's tending bar in a bikini, but completely her body is stoned. Like she's wearing
the stones on her
jewels,
face.
like full drag.
But that's the next level to what Tura does with her eyebrows.
Yes, absolutely.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And then in Beyond the Valley, I mean, those looks are crazy.
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
Z-Man with with breasts and like a weird like dildo he's wearing, right? Or
yeah.
Haji's filmography is like some of these titles. Super Vixen, up your alley. She's in Bigfoot, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Haji almost sounds like a stripper name. Like
It does.
I wonder if she was a go-go dancer or a stripper, or if she did burlesque. I'd love to know the origins of Haji.
She began on her biography on IMDb that at the age of 14 began topless dancing.
14. Oh my god.
Yep. So she began exotic dancing at a very young age.
Wow.
But how cool that Susan Bernard did this movie and then went on to do a Playboy centerfold, be the first Jewish girl in Playboy.
Probably what got her like.
I want to say this
The centerfold.
I want to say
Yep.
this movie
Yeah.
got her that, and
Yeah.
like and opened her up to it probably
Sure.
because she was exposed to women like Tura and Haji and Lori.
Yeah. I feel like if I was 16 at that age and I get cast in this movie and they're just like, okay, they're your kidnappers. Be scared. Be like, got it.
Got it.
Guess what? She looked scared,
She
and I don't think she needed to act
No,
because I feel
yeah.
like those women are intimidating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're manhandling her. Yeah.
Those women, I want to say all 3 of those women are way more intimidating than any man in this movie.
Absolutely.
Because even the vegetable, he's blonde. He's like a beefcake.
yeah.
The dad's in a wheelchair, so Grandpa's not scary.
Yeah.
And then the third guy's just like a skinny dude. Tura, has her way with.
every now and then I kind of would get like, okay, the skinny brother who's kind of like the normal one. I'm like, all right, but is he scary? Because the whole time,
Because you think that he's going to save Linda.
well, there's
too.
the point when she runs away and she finds him, but she doesn't know that he lives there, and she's like, oh, you're gonna take me to the police, blah blah blah, they're after me, they're trying to kill me, they killed my boyfriend. And the whole time he's just like, don't worry, I live here, you know, and he's saying all this stuff and you're like, ooh.
As he takes her back.
Is he gonna
when
kill
he
her?
fully
Like-
knows damn well that she's been running from that direction.
like where else
too.
would she
Where else would she have been?
coming from? Just take her to the cops, you know.
And how about when the grandpa's like, to the vegetable son, the last girl you brought over here, you were too rough with her. You saw what happened with that one.
Yeah.
Don't be so rough.
Yeah.
And I like that it just evokes
Yeah.
sort of like
That's very Psycho.
Yeah.
That's very Norma talking to Norman about
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
oh, and what about the other ones? Like, ooh.
I know, but did you ever feel like the blonde quote unquote vegetable son beefcake dude
Sure.
was ever scary or a threat?
Not until he saw Billy get killed. And then he something snapped because he like, I think they're playing it up that like maybe he did kind of fall in love with her. And when he saw that, he sees her there on the ground with a knife in her back.
When Tura throws the knife
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Billy's back.
Yeah.
That's one of the best sequences in this movie.
It
Because
really-
you kind of have a feeling of female solidarity.
Yes.
with
Sure.
the three of them.
And you kind of think like, well, she's not clearly going to like, that's her sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not going to do anything to her.
Well, because that's the point where you're like, oh, Billy's not in this for the violence and the, and the high. She, like I said, Billy's in it for have some fun, drink some booze, find some cute boys,
some money, some
yeah,
angles.
and make a little money on the side,
some
whatever. Yeah, but when it gets too real, that's when she's, you know what, fuck this, I'm leaving, and that's the point where Varla's like, no, you ain't.
Varla takes her out so hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so hard.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we should at least pull the knife out of her back.
Yes.
And it's just, it's really.
Oh, that scene with Haji and
Yeah.
when Haji's talking with the vegetable.
Yeah.
And she mentions that, are you going to take the knife out of her back?
Well, she only says that because Varla wants the knife back.
I
She's
know.
like, bring me
But the
knife
way
back.
that Haji's looking, at the vegetable, though.
yeah.
It's really tough.
Yeah, it's very heartbreaking.
But okay, so first of all, this whole scene's crazy because Varla Tura, she kills Billy. She throws a knife at her.
And Billy's the third girl. There's just
Yeah.
she's the third Pussycat.
Yeah.
So you don't expect her to ever
No,
do that.
not at all. But the thing is, Varla tells Haji, give me the knife. Varla doesn't have a knife on her. She like tells Haji, like, you've got the knife, like hand it over. And Haji's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what are you gonna kill her now? And she's like, yes, I straight up am. And then does. And then she says, okay, now we gotta take care of Grandpa in the wheelchair. Go get the knife back. And she's like, oh fuck me. So when she does, she's having this conversation with the vegetable, and it's just like she does not know what to do to navigate this.
It's a very poignant moment.
It really is.
in a film that doesn't have a lot of that.
And Haji plays it really well. She played like you are feeling for her. You're just like, oh my god, she's just like, she's creeped out. She's like, it's an interesting scene to play, and I think they all do such a
and
great
kind
job.
of when you look at their characters of how much shit have they had to put up with Tura,
Right.
Of like how many crazy adventures have they had with her where this has been the end result?
Was there a
Two.
fourth Pussycat at some point?
Was there a fourth Pussycat? Sure. Yeah.
Varla took care of. Yeah, that's when it starts to get like super real, because the whole time you're just like, okay, she already broke this guy's back out there in the middle of this dry lake bed, but this is when it gets like it's between the three of them.
It's kind of genius that she kills the hot blood blonde dude with a car.
Yeah.
Because he's such a big dude.
Yeah.
He works out.
Yeah.
How you would question otherwise? Well, one of her karate chops is not going to do this.
Yeah,
one.
no.
Yeah.
But guess what? The Porsche will do it.
Yes.
And
yeah.
it takes what, a good 5 minutes on
That-
screen.
Yeah.
Like it's gratuitous, but in a great way.
No, yeah.
It's not easy to stage scenes of violence that are realistic looking and
Right.
that feel effective and shocking.
Yeah.
And this movie does it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even like the larger than life violence in this movie of Varla trying to run over the vegetable and pinning him with the car, like you buy it.
Yeah.
You buy that he's like
you're suspending your disbelief that he's pushing.
You
the
buy
car
that he's
up, but
pushing
you
back
do-
that
but
car.
you do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think it would be a little bit too much for us as the audience to see her rolling around on the ground with this guy that could snap her neck.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the car fails
Yeah.
Varla.
Yeah.
Varla has the metal to the pedal.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The car fails her.
Yeah.
The Porsche gets
It digs itself into the
tires dig
ground.
into
Yeah.
the dirt.
Into a rut. Yeah.
And you kind of think, oh, she's gonna leave. She could steal another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Plenty more where that came
Doesn't
from.
she just leave the Porsche there?
Well, there's two more. Yeah, two more cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy's not going to need that one anymore.
I know.
Well, and neither is Haji, because when he does take the knife out, he's like, "Oh, you want this knife?" That is like, ooh, that one got me.
Yeah.
Right in the feels. I was like, no, not Haji.
The other disturbing element to this is just like the laissez-faire way that Tura plays with the Susan Bernard character. Like,
Sure.
because you know the whole time they're gonna kill her later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But are they?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I feel like Tura's like a cat playing with a mouse.
Right.
Yeah.
And that girl's like a mouse.
She's
Yeah.
feeling it out.
Yeah.
She could be
She's
the
like-
other Pussycat. I don't know.
Yeah. For now, we're gonna
Let's see how she does
let's
today.
Just drug her today.
Yeah.
In 2 hours, we'll deal with this. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
But just the idea of violence, the way she flirts with violence, is emotionally taxing to watch.
Right.
You know.
Because I think she says stuff about like, yeah, we'll take you home, or she at least tells the brother, like, we're gonna, we got her, we're gonna take her home after this. But
Yeah,
it's
because
like,
there is this idea of female solidarity that she does sort of like dangle and
Right.
does get played with and feels like it's on the table the whole time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But is it? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think like in a modern movie, they would have to kind of give Varla these scenes of like telling the girl, or like luring them in, or kind of like giving them these false impressions of like, I would never do anything like that to you, blah blah blah. But it doesn't matter here. We get what we get, and it's like, and it's still super effective.
I mean, you mentioned sociopath earlier with Varla, of when Linda is going to be running off with Kirk, and she's kind of like, "Oh no, well let me just drive you in the town."
Yeah.
Like don't worry about any of this. It's been a crazy day. Let me just drive you in the town. And you can just really see that manipulation with Varla.
Yes. Yeah.
Of that stuff like this has worked in the past with her.
Yeah, and it's that manipulation. It's that coming up with the lie on the top of your head and selling it. And the way you do it is because you believe it.
Yeah.
You're just like,
Well, Tura says it in the beginning. I don't try, I do.
yes.
And it's sort of her mantra throughout the film. She keeps doing.
Absolutely. And the thing about those lies that are effective is that you don't oversell it. You give just the right amount of information. Like, yeah, I'm taking you back to touch. Just shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. I got you. There's ways to do it, and yeah, there's just something, this master manipulator that Varla is with everybody, even with the girls in her gang. And it's like, I think that maybe Haji and Billy have this idea of like, yeah, we're this tough girl gang, and Varla's just like, whatever, dude. Like, I could take or leave these.
You're just around for the ride, or as long as I want you around.
Yeah, yeah, because she's so quick to play chicken, to do all these things. Give me that knife, Just because, what would happen if Billy just left? I don't think Billy's the kind of person that would run to the cops for what she's going to implicate herself in half of this shit.
She already has a record. She's probably,
Yeah.
probably they're all wanted.
Yeah. So if Billy just left, fine, nothing would have happened. But no, she could not even let that happen.
But how funny is that thing about the lunch? Is it formal or can we stay comfortable? Dude, they don't have any other clothes in the car.
Yeah, no.
Wait, what?
What are they gonna
Tura
change
doesn't,
into?
wears,
Yeah.
She doesn't wear anything formal. Don't you feel like she sort of lives in that outfit?
Oh,
It's like,
absolutely. Yes, this is her.
you can't ever imagine her changing,
Yeah,
right?
she's got that Bill Gates closet of just like that top,
Yeah.
and multiples of it. Although I think Billy is wearing pants before she jumps into the lake, and then is in shorts the rest of the movie.
Right.
But that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I love this. He's like, we don't stand on formality here. The old man.
He wants company, our kind of company.
Our kind of company. Later on in the movie, when all the shit hits the fan, and we find out that the money is not hidden in the house, it's like in a lockbox under his wheelchair. This crazy
I forgot
60s
about
wheelchair.
that. I know that I had seen this movie a few times, but I always forget where the money is.
Yeah.
And it's in the wheelchair.
And Varla calls the money scratch. I gotta go pick up the scratch. And she tells Haji to go get the knife while I pick up the scratch. I love that shit. Calling money scratch.
Yeah, the language is amazing.
But yeah, she says something about like, oh, he had it on him the whole time. Like, yeah, that old man. It's like he's gross. He's like shifty. He does that thing where he's like, oh, I threw the keys in the desert. Like, you want to take the truck back? Well, good fucking luck, because I threw the keys. But he's got the keys on him the whole time. Mm-hmm. Like, this old man is like, it's one of those things where he is really a villain, and when he gets like hit by the car and knocked out of his wheelchair, you're just like, yeah. you don't care. You don't care when he finally gets his comeuppance because he's gross.
Yeah.
Especially when he, when Linda runs away the first time and Billy comes out and he's like, oh, she like, he says something about like the way she took off and Billy's just like, oh, you got a shotgun in her belly the whole time and like she beat you up or something. The way that kind of Billy kind of comes to her defense, even though it's her captor, because she's just like, no, dude, you're a gross old man with a fucking gun, and like, what? Now you're pissed off that she got away. It's very interesting the way that she came at him with that line. I want to find the line. She says something about like you had a gun in her belly and.
Oh, they said that Pussycat was his second most successful film he made because women liked it.
Yeah.
So it finally drew in a women audience.
It found its audience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The we didn't talk about him too much, but the gas station attendant that had like no teeth.
Oh yeah.
He was amazing.
he was great. The way he's just like looking at these ladies and like looking at their cars and like telling them the story about like this old dude with all this money. You're just like, all right, dude. He's just happy to see somebody.
Oh, another fun fact about Tura, she did work as a secretary for a doctor.
Okay.
Apparently, she encountered some young men ransacking the office and threw them out the window.
Oh my god.
Work.
So
Not out the window.
Yeah. So Tura does have that capacity, apparently.
Wow.
I love that.
There's also a wild story with her on IMDb. Or on Wikipedia.
One of my other favorite lines about in this movie is, what is it? A velvet glove cast in iron. What does she say? Oh, you're cute, like a velvet glove cast in iron. Billy tells that to.
Oh, that's a good one.
To Varla.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that Beyond the Valley of the Dolls saves Fox? I didn't know that. That's wild.
Was Fox not doing well
I guess not. That's
financially, and they needed something to make like a quick profit?
Yeah. But Russ, another thing about him is that he was all about the freedom, right, of what you see on screen, whether it's violence or sexuality and all that. And he disliked the term hardcore, which I get because the films are cinema.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say that they're pure cinema.
Yeah.
It's not. They aren't hardcore.
No, they're not hardcore. Yeah.
No. But the first film of his that got an X was Vixen.
Okay.
And it was made for $60,000 and made $28 million apparently.
Holy shit.
Playing 58 weeks on one screen in Chicago. Wild.
Wow. And Vixen is 68. Okay.
Vixen, I guess, attracted it. It was one of the first exploitation films that attracted a female audience, which is why it was a breakthrough film for him.
Okay.
But it doesn't have like the snappy dialogue of like Beyond the Valley or Faster Pussycat.
Yeah. And Super Vixen's, Scott, the one that you were watching earlier today, that's from 1975. I wonder if it's just unrelated to Vixen. It's just called Super Vixen.
I think it's a different actress.
But yeah, again, that was one that, the dialogue's not there. It's a little bit more graphic in the in the nudity department. Still not hardcore by any means.
Super Vixens,
just something that maybe would be late night on Cinemax or something. But
see a young Charles Napier in it, who plays a character named Harry Sledge.
Charles Napier from Austin Powers and Silence of the Lambs,
collaborator of Demi. Yep.
Is he in more than Silence of the Lambs?
He's in a ton of Jonathan Demme movies. Almost every single Jonathan Demme movie from the 80s and 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's listeners, he's the Army general in Austin Powers who says, "We're off to London, England."
Gets this face like ripped off by
his face eaten by
Hannibal Lecter.
By Hannibal Lecter, yes, indeed. But yeah, that one, like I was saying, it's more graphic, but yeah, it's not like they're people like, simulating sex acts. It's just like ladies in teddies, and you can see their nipples kind of through the clothing that they're wearing, but they're still wearing a teddy, and. But also, like you were mentioning, the dialogue is just not. It's fun. It's still fun. You're just like, okay, that's a good one. Yeah. But it's not. It's nowhere near as quick and
they're erotic, but they're not silly or bombastic.
Right. Absolutely. There you go.
But they flirt with like taboos like incest and like like threesomes. And it's women led. Is Erica Gavin doing all the sex scenes?
Yeah. So, so that just kind of goes to show that something like Faster Pussycat, where it may have this reputation as being, one type of movie, when you actually sit down and watch it, give it a chance, you're just like, oh, this is so much more.
And by the way, Erica Gavin is in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's the one that like they put the gun in her mouth at the end.
Right.
Like he's kind of filleting her with a gun.
I remember that. I think when did we last watch Beyond the Valley of the Dolls? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, and I had not seen it until a friend of the podcast, Mike Toscano, was pestering me about finally watching it, and I sat and I rented the Criterion from Videotech. Yeah. Where do you, if you had to cast the Jawbreaker girls?
I mean, Rose is Tura, obviously.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Obviously.
The blonde would be Marcy Fox.
Sure. Yep.
Haji. I guess Haji would be a mix of, I don't know. Marcy Fox would be a mix of Haji and the blonde.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the Fern character, Violet, I guess she would be, I don't know. She's not really represented.
Yeah, she's not really represented.
Yeah.
I mean, she's as if like the Susan Bernhard character could become one of the Faster Pussycat Kill
Dane
women.
Dane is fully the blonde vegetable. The blonde vegetable.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And then, the old man could be like Miss Sherwood or something. Ebert gave Jawbreaker probably the most scathing review ever.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, the most scathing. It was so bad. I remember people calling me and be like, "Oh my, holy shit! Roger Ebert just fucking crucified the movie so hard. Like he hated it. So it was going to front." By the way, John Waters loves it. So I'd rather that's all that matters to me. That John Waters likes it. But I was really pissed at Ebert. So I was like, "Fuck you! You wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and you're going to hate on my movie."
Right? Yeah. That's
Roger Ebert could be sometimes a fuddy-duddy with certain movies, though.
But that's exactly the thing. When I remember when I first found out that he wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, I was like, wait a minute. So then where do you get off?
Well, it's like the way Gene Siskel hates Friday the 13th and horror movies. They both don't have like a trash aesthetic always. Right. But I just feel like also it's like hating what you are, like you're seeing yourself in the mirror and being like, oh, I'm going to,
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
Sigh. Anyway, it's all good.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Robert.
Yeah, absolutely.
Roger Ebert. We still love you. I mean, I still mad respect, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody, listeners, don't go looking up that interview. Or that review.
Did it make it to actually like?
It's been scrubbed.
I don't know. But I think getting a really bad review from Ebert's kind of cool.
Sure.
Because it was on the show.
Okay.
That's why it was brutal.
If it made it on the show, that's kind of fun.
I think it was on the show. That's just cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I'm not masochistic enough to go back and watch it. Like I think I watched it once 25 years ago, and that was that.
What did Jawbreaker open with?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, how much did it make?
No, I mean, what were the other movies that came out
Office
on that
Space.
Friday?
Office that weekend.
But that was kind of a sleeper.
And Office
too,
Space didn't make a lot of money in its release too.
I forget what the other ones were.
I should know.
I
still think it's wild that movie opened within a month.
At all.
Well, it opened within a month of something like She's All That.
Of that,
if you can really see like.
And Freddie
the range
Freddie
of
was
like
in my first film, Sparkler.
teen movies, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And I ran into him at a party, and I was like, "Oh boy, you have She's All That opening. I had Jawbreaker. I guess we'll just have to see who does better." We had a fun little repartee about it.
That's
and he's like, "I'm gonna crucify you." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, sure, Freddie." And of course, it did well because it's a big commercial movie.
Sure, yeah. And it had like the Weinsteins backing it too. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that just like. The range of teen movies at that time.
Wild.
That we went from She's All That, Varsity Blues, Jawbreaker.
All in 1 year.
Within like 2 months. Yeah.
And that year also had Election, Virgin Suicides.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
It was a great year.
Wow.
Drop Dead Gorgeous, I think, might have been that year. I mean, maybe
Drop
not.
Dead Gorgeous, I believe, was August or July of '99.
Okay. Yeah, that was that year.
Wow.
It was a great year.
They're all turning 25.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Alamo Draft House just did a 1999 time capsule. And so they played Jawbreaker as one of their movies in all their theaters across the country.
That's cool.
That was nice. It was nice to be included in that because that could have
Yeah.
been, didn't have to be in that, but did well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, 25 years. I don't like thinking about those things.
I know.
Because being a full adult 25 years ago is
No, but when I made Jawbreaker, I was like 26, 27.
Yeah.
I was young.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't a full adult.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
at 26, you are a full adult. But
That's what I mean.
I
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
had a lot of growing to do, I think.
yeah. I mean, in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
and maybe legally, we're fully formed adults in our heads and our
Yes.
minds. I feel like I'm a good, 12, 13 on a good day. 17 if I'm really trying.
It's true.
But here we are.
Do we have any kind of wrap up thoughts about Faster Pussycat? Kill?
I just recommend go watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's such a fun time capsule of this alternative culture and film in the mid '60s.
Yeah.
And I would say it's on the same par as Psycho as far as
absolutely.
how important it is and how much it affected cinema.
Right.
And then I would also say, let's try to get Gen Z and like make people aware of it.
Yeah.
Because it's not, I feel like, it's so easy when it's something that's only on YouTube for things
Right.
to fade into obscurity or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have this conversation all the time about, Gen Z and younger millennials.
Do young people care about movies?
Having this mindset of,
Yeah.
if it's not streaming, I'm not watching it. If it's not on Netflix, I'm not watching it.
I think sometimes like, if their parents do, they
Yeah.
sort of get it, into it. I'm not even sure, like my students who are like in their early 20s, what are they Gen Z? What are they?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think early 20. I think Gen Z is anyone born after the year 2000.
Well, I will say that the people at AFI in the grad school who are like in their early 20 to 25, they all love cinema.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
they definitely did not know Faster Pussycat, and they were like trying to wrap their heads around those 4 words.
Yeah.
Faster
yeah.
Pussycat kill. Well, one of the girls was from India, so I could see why she might have found the title
Sure.
even weirder.
Sure.
But it's a strange title, and
Yeah.
even if you look at the posters for that, there's only like 1-2 posters that exist. There's like the domestic poster and the international poster. There's not even a lot of art for the film.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the American poster is just like black, white, and red.
Yeah.
Yep.
It feels very cult exploitation cinema.
Right. Yeah. And I think just kind of like Russ Meyer, like I said, if you didn't know who he was, you kind of maybe you have that thing in your head of, oh, okay, he does the movies with the ladies with the big boobs or whatever. But I there's just something about quote unquote cult cinema, and I'm always the kind of person that like, even when video stores were kind of popular, I would always kind of go to, if there was a cult section, I would always kind of just go and see what was in there and look around. But that's just me. I know not everybody's kind of like that, but so you're doing the Lord's work teaching these kids about about Russ Meyer and this piece of cinema. But I don't know.
Well,
maybe
also you can't get this if you can't get it on Blue.
yeah.
If you can't get the media, does it exist? It's
Right.
Yeah.
Vixen isn't on Blue. His only film, it's Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, is on Criterion. That's the only one, I think. I'm not sure, but that's and there's rights issues, I guess, with them.
Yeah. We're big proponents of physical media in this house. So like I said, we do go and find these video stores that are still around. We're lucky that we're in Los Angeles, so there's a couple of big ones because Video's just reopened a year or two ago, and Videotech out in Highland Park. So we're able to do that. But I feel like even if we wanted to just buy it on even just a DVD, would we be able to? I don't know. Is it just on Amazon? Like, there's a DVD of Faster Pussycat?
No, it's $100 or $150 for a Faster Pussycat DVD.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking up the studio. So, I mean, all of Meyer's his movies at this time were RM Films International. I don't really know when you look at just sort of the ownership of all of these studios, who even has the rights to this anymore. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, YouTube's there for now. So
That's a great transfer.
yeah, absolutely. So we should probably wrap it up just because of timing. So, Darren, tell us
Darren,
where
thank you so
people can
much.
find you.
Just
Thank
my
you for
name
coming on.
at Darren Stein on Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. Do you have anything that you want to plug? Any events coming up?
Events? I don't think so. No events to speak of. But yeah.
All right.
We got to do
good.
the Jawbreaker Q&A with you last summer.
We're developing
at Rooftop.
we're still developing the movie musical at Columbia.
Nice.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's out to some pop stars. They want to get a pop star attached, so fingers crossed that happens very soon.
Fun.
And then I have another movie that's out to an actress, so I'm hoping she signs on and we can get this film made.
That's really
Yay.
cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Things are happening. It's good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
I
you
always
so
love seeing
much.
you guys. It's so good to see
Yeah,
you.
same thing. Well, this is season 6. Thank you for coming back, and we would love to have you on again.
Always.
Alrighty. Well, until next time, we'll see you next time, Darren. And thank you so much, listeners.
Faster Pussycat Kill Kill.
Yes, indeed. Man, season 6 off to a great start. Darren, great guest as usual. Go out and buy Jawbreaker if you haven't
Jawbreaker.
already. Line those pockets so Darren will come back and do another show. with
25
us.
years old. I can't believe it. It feels like just yesterday that I was looking at that film poster in the Judah Theater lobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
A movie that was never going to be playing in my small town.
Movies from 1999 are turning 25 this year, and I don't want to hear about it. But
We're doing a fun thing on our Patreon right now with it, though.
yeah, absolutely. We're going to try to do commentary tracks for movies that were released in 1999.
We might go back and forth between 1999 and 94.
So movies that are turning 25 or turning 30.
Yeah.
We'll be doing commentary
Fun
tracks
Patreon
for
stuff.
on the Patreon. And speaking of the Patreon,
Oh, Patreon shout-outs?
yes, indeed, Patreon shoutouts. We would love to say a great big hello and thank you to all of our wonderful patrons who've stuck with us through the little break and are still with us now. And any new patrons want to say a great big hey, hello, and thanks to all of you, including Courtney, Christina, our friends at How Do You Drew podcast, our friend Andy, Kate, Pep, Tammy, Roberto, Brett, Daisy, Kelly, Chrissy, Steven, Desiree, Laura, Thomas, Lori, Brenna, Jessa Rabbit, Lawrence, Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Millie, Ted, Benny, Jamel, Melanie, Susan, JJ, Shelby, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Genevieve, Dawn, Joshua, Emma, Melly, Aaron, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and Rafino. You guys, thank you so much for being patrons.
Thank you so much.
Head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay, and you'll see all of the different levels and all of the fun stuff we have. We're talking about our commentary tracks. That is at the $10 and below, $10 level. You can get all of our commentary tracks. There's pushing 40 commentaries on there. You can listen to them as a regular bonus episode, or you can sync it up with your copy of the movie. If you have the movie in question, if it's on streaming, if you have the DVD, we'll give you instructions on how to sync it up. And so you're listening to us tell jokes and tell stories as the movie's playing. It's really fun.
We just did Never Been Kissed.
We sure did. Movie from 1999, turning 25. So check that out. There's also TV That Made Us Gay. That's at the $5 level, $5 and above. And we've got a couple of TV shows in there, and we're going to come out with a new one every month moving forward. So if you've got $5, you can check out all of those and all the back episodes of that. And, if you can only afford, one donation, that's fine. Throw down $10, and for 30 days, you got access to everything.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun stuff over there, and all of your donations go directly to keeping the show on the air, ad-free, every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So check us out, patreon.com/movies that made us gay. You can also follow us on all the socials. We're on pretty much everything. We're at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram and Facebook. We're most active on Instagram, but you can follow us on all of the other Twitter-esque apps, X, Blue Sky, and Threads.
Yeah, you can also follow I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram and follow my letterbox.
I'm at Peter Lasagna on Instagram, and follow Scott's Letterboxd. I don't have one, but I pretty much watch.
You do have one, you just
everything
don't
he
use
does.
it.
Yeah. So check us out. Follow us there. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week.
See you later.
Bye.